So the semiconductor market has been in quite a downturn, especially the past 2 days, with the overall tech market continuing to dip. On today's episode, I want to take a closer look at two companies that I believe can benefit dramatically from Nvidia, from the AI market, and have also taken quite a dip in these past few days. So these are two stocks that I recently purchased, and I just want to share to my viewers my thoughts and also my overall thoughts on some of the other AI companies out right now. So let's take a closer look in today's episode. All right, so first let's start off by apologizing that I did not do an episode last night. I actually took the day off and went out with the family. For the past few weeks, we've actually been down here in Florida, and obviously I'm always working. But yesterday I was like, you know what? Let me take the day off and let me do a video in the morning. But there were some rumors that, hey, look, I finally gave up on Nvidia. And if you guys know, in the past few days, I've been talking about what are some of the price points that I would purchase a lot of these AI companies. So I did purchase a nice amount of stocks yesterday, but I only want to talk about two today. But if you're familiar, you know I was looking at Nvidia under 115. We got that yesterday. You know I was looking at AMD under 150, right now sitting at 138. We know Supermicro was one that I was looking at under 800 in the 700s, and right now we're in the 695s. Supermicro is the only one that hasn't been added to my portfolio. But like I mentioned, today I want to take a closer look at two stocks that can benefit dramatically from AI, from Nvidia. And just for my overall tone, the market can continue to be red. That's a-okay for me. I could care less. I'm a long-term investor, and I do believe the potential for the AI market, especially for a company like Nvidia, is still pretty much high. When that would happen, I don't know. And it's also important to know that it's not going to happen at a straight line. There could be moments where we continue to see dips, we continue to see weakness, and that's why it's always important to understand the strength of the company, and why I try to do most of my daily videos, right? Where I talk a lot about all the different bullish sentiments that we're getting. You guys know how bullish I am in Blackwell, how many analysts are bullish in that platform as well. So short term, anything can happen. Right now, I'm really enjoying Nvidia at these price points. In the long term, I am very, very bullish for the semiconductor space. So now I'm going to take a closer look at two companies that I purchased yesterday as well, right? And these two are new, and that's why I really wanted to bring this up. No, it's not ASML, but before we get there, I want to kind of preface of why I believe this market is going to be big. So we know Nvidia is big into the AI chips, and AI chips need something called HBM, high bandwidth memory, right? And high bandwidth memory is something that we're seeing a lot of companies continue to invest. I mean, if we take a closer look at ASML recently reported earnings, right? ASML did mention that in memory, demand is primarily driven by DRAM technology, which supports memory such as DDR5 and, more importantly, HBM. In support of these transitions, we expect growth in revenue from memory this year relative to 2023. And I believe that's going to be the case. So ASML tells us that, hey, look, customers are increasing their spending on memory equipment. Now, TSM also recently reported earnings. So TSM mentions that, hey, look, in forms of AI accelerator, they don't believe that they can reach a supply and demand balance right now, because the demand is so high. And that obviously means that we're going to continue to see a growth in AI chips. And like we saw, AI chips need high bandwidth memory. So another bullish sentiment here from TSM. Now we have Micron Technology, a big provider of memory. Micron, for their CapEx, they mentioned they will increase their CapEx spending in one... Now we have Micron, and Micron mentions that they're going to continue to increase their capital spending next year in one specific market, specifically HBM, high bandwidth memory, where they're trying to increase their overall capacity because they see such huge demand. So from these three companies, we understand one thing: where is money going? Money for equipment is going in the memory side. We see it from an equipment company, ASML. We see it from a company that manufactures chips that, hey, look, AI accelerators continue to see strong demand. And we see it from a memory company themselves. So right now, we understand that memory is very, very important. Personally, I'm not a fan of memory within itself. So, like, I personally am not a huge fan of Micron technology, but I am a big fan of equipment companies that can benefit from there. And you guys saw that quick overview of the earnings and some of the great market insight. I actually share insight like that in my ebook on the Semiconductor Investor Earnings Insight Handbook for Q2 of 2024. So I have two ebooks. The first ebook is kind of like an encyclopedia of public semiconductor companies. The second ebook is an ebook on this current earnings where I share a lot of great information and I break it down very easily for viewers to read. The great thing, if you purchase both these books right now, you actually get $20 off automatically at checkout when you buy both of them at the same time. The second thing is both these documents are living documents. So I'm adding more companies to the Semiconductor Handbook Encyclopedia. And obviously, as we get more earnings, I'm adding more earnings. So once you purchase the book, I will be sending updates to your email either every other week or every week. So make sure to check it out. I appreciate the support there. All right, so now let's take a closer look at the two companies that I purchased. Two new companies. Actually, one is not new, but it's kind of new to this channel. If you are part of my membership program here, I've talked about one of them I believe about a year ago. But the first one is going to be CAMT Technology. So CAMT, ticker CAMT. Market cap of $4.5 billion. You're going to see both these companies are semiconductor equipment companies with less than $10 billion mark. Obviously, they are going to deal one way or another with the memory side of HBM and AI accelerators. So there's that growth potential. These are growth stocks. And as you guys know, growth stocks come with high risk, but also high reward potential. So CAMT at $100 right now, pre-market, the stock is up roughly $3. Year to date, the stock has been up nearly 50%, but we can see from its year-to-date high, the stock is down nearly 26%. It does have a dividend yield, and most of these kind of look overvalued, but I believe that demand is going to make them grow into that valuation. So you might be wondering, Jose, what does CAMT do? So CAMT creates systems that help inspect and measure the overall chip. So when you're building these chips, right, semiconductor solutions are super, super small. You have to make sure that to kind of make sure your quality is doing good, you have to use solutions that are called metrology and inspection equipment. And that's pretty much what CAMT does. It's solutions that help you see if there's any defect on that chip. The great thing is this technology is actually being used a lot in HBM. We can see in their most recent earnings, which they reported on May 9th, their other earnings is coming next Thursday, so stay tuned. If I'll probably be doing an update, but we can see from CAMT record revenue was up 34% year over year. They are pleased with their record revenue in the first quarter, driven by strong demand for HBM and chiplet applications. Chiplet's another important thing, right? One thing we are seeing is not only AI accelerators are getting smaller and you need better things to kind of inspect them, but you're stacking chips on top of each other. And when you're stacking things on top of each other, obviously things can bend, there could be some error. So you need to make sure that that inspection is going, you can inspect that quality as well. So chiplet is another thing. And chiplet, we're seeing it with AMD's chips, we're seeing it with Intel's chips, we're seeing it with a lot of different also solutions. So there is a market there. And they mentioned that right now, HBM and chiplet applications account for 60% of their business, and the field of AI continues to grow. So if it's such a big portion of this company's total revenue, in my opinion, it's going to continue to grow, and that will be a nice revenue booster for this giant. So here are just some images. They see that chiplet packaging and HBM shipments are expected to grow throughout the years. Here we can see how kind of like heterogeneous integrations in things like HBM, in GPUs, kind of putting everything together. You need to understand, hey, look, is there anything going wrong? Is there any smaller bumps? Is there any missing bumps? Is there small bumps? So you have to make sure that everything is working well when you're stacking these chips together for something like a multi-processor unit. Here, this is something like AMD's EPIC chip, right? Where you have multiple CPUs, and you have multiple GPMs stacked around it. So obviously there is a huge market opportunity for CAMT. Like I mentioned, this is a high growth stock with high risk and high reward. The second company is going to be BE Semiconductor, BESI. And the company just reported earnings. Unfortunately, the stock is down roughly 14%. One, because of earnings, and two, because of just the overall semiconductor dip. So this is traded over the counter in the over the counter market with ticker BESIY. This means that not every brokerage will be able to trade it. I use Fidelity and I'm able to do it. The other thing I do want to say is big warning. This stock usually has a very, very low volume. So you have to do limit buys. If you don't understand things like low volume, like limit buys, this is one to stay away from because you might make a purchase and it might be a lot higher than the current stock price at the moment. In forms of market cap, we can see $10 billion, also has a dividend yield. So now BESI, this is one that I really, really do enjoy. So they provide semiconductor equipment, but they provide semiconductor equipment that actually helps with the production of these chips. So we can see that obviously the use of generative AI is growing. 35 to 40% of BESI's orders are currently from AI applications, and you can use them for 3D and 2.5D structure. So BESI actually does something pretty interesting. They provide equipment that is used for things like hybrid bonding, like thermal compression bonding and flip chip die. And this is when you're actually stacking the chip together. So this is a company that's equipment is being used to stack things together. And that's obviously used in things like chiplets and hybrid solutions. For example, CoWoS is very important. CoWoS uses 2.5D package D growth solution. And for CoWoS, you can use BESI semiconductor equipment. Here you can use the 8800 Cameo or the 2200 Evo, depending on where you're doing. You can see one is being used to kind of connect the HBM to a part of the chip, and the other is used to kind of connect to the substrate themselves. And we know that high-end packaging is one that's expected to grow, as we heard from TSMC that they don't have enough capacity for things like CoWoS solution. Now, BESI's thermal compression bonding and hybrid bonding system address needs for future HBM interconnects. So obviously they're going to be selling equipment to companies like Micron, Samsung, SK Hynix. Companies that I mentioned are going to be needing these solutions. So here's a perfect image of kind of all the solutions BESI provides. For example, you can do chiplet, 3D chiplet, hybrid bond, chiplet, bridge die, and BESI kind of gives you the equipment that they use for these types of assembly process. So like I mentioned, I am very bullish in this market. We've heard from the AI market. The AI market is going to continue to grow. Various companies are going to be creating AI solutions as well. And we are seeing kind of this growth in both advanced packaging and HBM, something that BESI can definitely benefit. So these are the two companies I really wanted to discuss because I do believe these have growth opportunities. Again, like I mentioned, both these are high reward, high risk. So at any point, they can definitely drop a nice amount. But from what we're hearing in the market, if you're bullish in AI accelerators, if you're bullish in AI companies, then I do believe these are ones that at least be familiar with. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.